theory. So please welcome Bob Maline, speaking of blind spots. Help me welcome Bob.
Mr. Toastmaster, thank you. Club members, guests. I'd like to share a way to gain insight into your political allies and opponents using a moral foundation theory. In his book, The Righteous Mind, Jonathan Haidt uses a theory of moral foundations to help explain differences in judgments and evaluations people make, a variety of people, conservatives, liberals, even libertarians. I'm going to briefly describe tonight the moral foundations. There's much more information in his book than I will touch on, but I'll talk about those moral foundations. I'll talk a little bit about the research that he and his associates have done. And then I'm going to share a focus on one of my weaker morals. Especially, I'm going to speculate on how it sounds to a more conservative person when I describe my moral weakness. I'm going to show a way of thinking that puts opposing voters in a more positive light, but I don't want that to be confused with taking it easy on your political opponents. I would expect people to campaign just as hard for their favorite opponent. I would not expect people to cut someone a break, but I do expect people to see them as human. And using this method, I would expect them to see them in a truer light. In addition to seeing your political allies and opposites, moral foundation thinking allows us to put a tiny brick in a more less divisive path for our country's future. As a matter of fact, in this age of Trump, moral foundation theory does a far better job than just assuming an opponent is racist or hateful or any other ad hominem attack you might want to add to that. Have you ever found yourself wondering why so many low-income Trump supporters will support him despite the fact his policies are neither good for their health nor their pocketbook? Without seeing how a lying, selfish, immature narcissist can actually engage with positive morals for his audience, explaining their behavior is almost impossible. At this point, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see those moral values. And especially, this is what is known as the conservative moral foundation model. Like any model, it is don't worry that it is, whether it is exact or not. It is meant to be directionally a guide. So social conservatives in general resonate and act well with care, liberty, fairness, loyalty, authority, and sanctity in equal measures. And I'll describe a little bit later how we quantify those. Sometimes, and for me particularly when I'm looking at liberty, it's helpful for me to see the opposite of that. In other words, oppression. When I'm thinking of liberty, the liberty moral value, fighting off oppression sometimes resonates better with me. But again, the key takeaway here is for social conservatives, all 6 moral values trigger a roughly equal activity. I'll advance the page here. The liberal moral foundation model, and again, I have not given you as much background as the author does in the book. So if you look at this and you push back and say that doesn't describe the liberals I know, I accept that. I haven't given you enough information yet to know all the background, but go with me on the journey is my request. Liberals respond to care, liberty, or fighting off oppression, and fairness very much. Dr. Haight's testing shows that they do not resonate with loyalty, authority, sanctity, or the absence of those three nearly as much as conservatives do. That absence can form a blind spot when a liberal is assessing a conservative and those conservatives' actions. If you're interested, I won't go into any detail, but libertarians resonate with the liberty or oppression moral foundation almost exclusively. Just like a hammer, for a hammer, every problem is a nail. For a libertarian, every problem is oppression. I want to share a little bit about how this can impact people. Why are some people more attached to the American flag than to literally millions of their fellow Americans? Is it, for them, is it true that that scrap of colored fabric means more than the lives of people? I believe they have awarded a sanctity to this object. And I believe it comes through when I see a clip of President Trump actually hugging a flag at maybe a conservative conference or a rally. I scream, "I see through you, you transparent so-and-so." I wonder if a conservative person sees, yeah, that's how I want my flag treated. They know it's a phony gesture, but the sanctity given to that object, I think that resonates in a positive way with them. Dr. Haight has done, and I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Dr. Haight has done research around the world. They have surveyed white, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic, or WEIRD is the acronym that's often used, societies, and their polar opposites in the US, in Europe, in Asia. So he's done everything that I can see as a non-professional to take out bias. As a matter of fact, you can participate in this too. You can go to, and I'm going to show it on the screen. You can go to yourmorals.org. I show here a list of some of the surveys that are available on that. I took their Moral Foundations questionnaire, just their basic, and this was my result. The green is my score, the blue is liberal, the red is conservative, and the only one that I want to call out today is loyalty. I love my country, but when I hear the word loyalty, I worry about excessive loyalty. I worry about literally the Germans following Hitler. I worry about the scout leaders covering up for fellow scout leaders in the Boy Scouts, for the hierarchy in the Catholic Church. I resonate with the abuses to loyalty. And I just wonder how that could possibly appear to a conservative person. My closing comments are I would expect you to campaign as hard for your candidate as you ever have, but do look for the positive moral values that could be lurking behind your political opponents. Our country needs you to both fight for what you believe in and try to bridge the gap and reduce some of the polarization. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.